They ignored the SOS until Deathworlders answered from the darkness. The small fleet drifted slowly along the edge of an uncharted region, its crew alert but tense. Every few hours they scanned for threats, hoping the sensors would pick up anything dangerous before it got too close. But the void was vast, and danger could come from anywhere. Captain Jason Miller sat in the command chair, his eyes fixed on the blinking screens before him. He was not a young man, but he had the calm patience of someone who had survived more than one dangerous mission. Around him, the bridge crew moved carefully, typing commands, adjusting coordinates, checking system readouts. The convoy was made up of small research ships, each fragile and thinly armored, designed for exploration and study rather than battle. They were never meant to face a real fight. A sudden beep broke the silence. Jason's eyes flicked to the monitor. A signal had come through, faint and broken but unmistakable, a distress signal. The words were barely recognizable, garbled and stretched across the frequencies like a cry carried through a storm. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Mia Carter, her voice tight. She had been monitoring the communications for hours, scanning for anomalies. "It's faint, it's old, but it's definitely a distress call." Jason leaned forward. "Show me." The signal was weak, distorted by distance and time. It came in pieces like fragments of a conversation caught in the wind. Somewhere someone was calling for help. "This signal, it's coming from the dark zone," Mia said. "That area has never been charted. Our maps mark it as dangerous. No one goes there." Jason frowned. "Dangerous how?" Mia hesitated. "Unknown conditions, radiation storms, gravity fluctuations, and the legends say there are creatures there no one has ever seen. That's why it's called the Forbidden Zone." The bridge fell silent. The crew knew the stories. Ships had entered the region before, and none had returned. Some said the void itself was alive, shifting and changing in ways that no human mind could understand. Others claimed that planets in that area were home to monsters and predators that could destroy a ship in minutes. Jason looked at his crew, seeing their tension. "We can't ignore it," he said finally. "It's a distress call. Someone is alive, we have to try." "But Captain," protested Ensign David Lee, "it could be a trap. We don't know what's out there. Sending ships in could be suicide." Jason shook his head. "David, we didn't become explorers to only go where it's safe. If someone needs help, we try. That's what humans do." Mia's hands moved quickly over the console. She traced the signal's origin as best she could. The readings were strange. The transmission had traveled far beyond what any of their equipment could normally detect. It was weak but persistent, like it had been trying to reach someone for weeks. "Captain," Mia said, frowning, "this signal, it's not just weak. It's repeating itself. I think they've been trying to call for help for a long time. Maybe days, maybe weeks." Jason's eyes hardened. "Then we can't wait any longer. Set a course. Prepare the fleet. We move into the dark zone." The crew went to work immediately. Engines hummed to life, shields powered up, and sensors adjusted for the unknown. Every officer knew the risks, yet none hesitated. Humanity had always faced the impossible and survived. This mission was just another test. As the convoy crossed the threshold into the forbidden region, the stars seemed to change. Light from distant suns bent strangely, and shadows moved where there should have been none. The sensors were alert, but the readings were confusing. Gravity fluctuated in small pulses and radiation levels spiked in odd patterns. "This isn't normal," muttered Mia, scanning the instruments. "We're still in open space, but it feels different, like the void itself is alive." Jason nodded. "Stay focused. Remember, we're here to find the signal. That's all that matters." Hours passed, and the convoy moved slowly through the darkness. The distress signal grew stronger, but it was still difficult to trace precisely. The voice, or whatever it was, came and went, lost in static. Yet the message was clear. Someone was alive, someone needed help, and they were counting on whoever could hear. On one of the smaller ships, A young engineer named Kevin Hall checked the engines. He was nervous, his hands shaking slightly as he adjusted the power flow. He had never been this far from safe space before. "Do you think anyone's really out there?" he asked, speaking to his friend, a communications officer named Laura Kim. Laura looked up from her console, eyes wide. "I don't know, but the signal is real. Whoever is out there, they need us. That's enough for me." Kevin nodded, trying to calm himself. He had read all the manuals, learned every safety procedure, and yet nothing could prepare him for the unknown that lay ahead. He realized as he stared into the darkness that fear was not going to stop them. Humans never gave up that easily. Meanwhile, Jason Miller studied the main monitor. He could see the faint outlines of debris fields ahead. Old wrecks, twisted metal floating silently, reminders of ships that had come before and never returned. The signal seemed to be coming from somewhere inside that chaos. "Hold formation," Jason ordered. "No sudden maneuvers. We go slow and steady." The convoy edged forward, past the first wreckage. The silence was broken only by the soft hum of shields and the occasional crackle from the communications channel. No one spoke unless necessary, every officer watching, waiting, and hoping that they were not too late. Suddenly, the sensors picked up a large object drifting in the distance. It was partially hidden by debris and its shape was strange. It didn't look like any ship Jason had ever seen. "Report," he said. Lieutenant Carter scanned quickly. "It's hard to say, sir. The hull is damaged, but there are signs of life. Small energy readings, possibly survivors inside. It's faint, but it's definitely there." Jason's heart beat faster. "Prepare a boarding team. We get in close, keep shields up, and no mistakes." As the convoy approached, the distress signal became clearer. The garbled voice now sounded almost human, repeating the words over and over. "Help trapped, please." The crew exchanged nervous glances. None of them had expected this. There was life out here. Someone had survived the horrors of the Forbidden Zone, and now they were close enough to rescue. Kevin Hall felt a rush of determination. "We're going to do it," he whispered. "We're actually going to save them." Laura nodded. "We have to. That's what humans do." Jason Miller gave the final orders. "All ships move into position, boarding teams ready, maintain shields, sensors keep scanning for anything unusual. Let's bring them home." As the first shuttle detached from the main ship, moving carefully toward the unknown, the crew watched the faint glow of the trapped vessel. Every moment was tense. Every second could bring disaster. But through it all, one thing was clear: humanity would not turn away. No one on the convoy spoke of fear anymore. Instead, there was focus, determination, a quiet courage that had carried humans across stars, across dangers that others would not face. They were entering the darkness, yes, but they were also bringing hope. And far ahead, hidden among the twisted wrecks and drifting debris, someone waited, alive but barely. The faint signal continued to call out. It had no idea that help was coming. It had no idea that the humans, always unpredictable, had decided to answer. Jason watched as the shuttle neared the vessel, and he felt a strange sense of pride. Humans were fragile, yes, but they never gave up. Even here, in the cold emptiness of a death world, they were moving forward. They were answering the call, no matter the cost. Somewhere in the silence, the voice whispered again, weak but clear, "Help, please." And for the first time in weeks, it would be heard. The journey was just beginning. The human fleet continued deeper into the dark zone. The debris field stretched for kilometers, jagged metal and shattered hulls floating silently in the void. Each wreck told a story of failure, of explorers who had ventured too far and never returned. The lights of the convoy glinted on twisted steel, making the field look like a graveyard among the stars. Captain Jason Miller watched the main monitor, tracking the faint energy readings of the trapped ship. It was small, old, and badly damaged, but the readings showed signs of life. People were alive. That was all that mattered. Lieutenant Mia Carter scanned the area again. "Captain, the signal is stronger now. Whoever is on that ship is trying to communicate directly." "They're still alive but weak," Jason nodded. "Prepare a small boarding team. We move in slowly. No mistakes." On one of the smaller shuttles, engineer Kevin Hall checked the systems. His hands were steady now, but his heart still raced. He had never done a real rescue mission before, and the thought of going alone into a wrecked ship terrified him. Beside him, communications officer Laura Kim adjusted the transmitter. "We'll be able to guide them," she said. "Just stay calm and follow instructions." Kevin took a deep breath. "Okay, I can do this. We have to save them." The shuttle detached from the main vessel and moved slowly through the debris. Small fragments of metal floated past like asteroids. Every few seconds, sensors beeped warnings of collisions. Kevin kept the shuttle steady, careful not to hit anything. Inside the damaged ship, the crew clung to life. The walls were bent, some sections torn open to space. Air was low and power flickered. Among the survivors were scientists and explorers from different planets, none human. They had been stranded for weeks, surviving on emergency rations and whatever systems still worked. One of the aliens, small and fragile, looked out through a cracked viewport. Its eyes widened at the approaching lights. "Are those help?" it whispered to a companion. "Yes," the companion replied weakly. "I think they are." The humans reached the ship slowly. Kevin maneuvered the shuttle to the largest intact section of the hull. He opened the airlock remotely, careful not to trigger any alarms. The shuttle's lights scanned the interior, revealing broken equipment, twisted metal, and frightened eyes. "Everyone, stay calm," Kevin said through the intercom. "We're here to help." "Move slowly toward the airlock. We'll get you out." The survivors hesitated. Weeks of isolation had made them cautious. They had seen many ships in the dark zone, most of which had disappeared, but the human voices were calm and steady. They were different. One of the aliens, a tall figure with long arms, moved first. It floated slowly toward the shuttle, helped by the low gravity inside the ship. Behind it, the others followed, still unsure but desperate for rescue. Inside the shuttle, Kevin guided them carefully. Each movement had to be precise. Any mistake could tear open the hull and expose them to the vacuum of space. Laura monitored the energy readings, adjusting the airlocks and stabilizers. Outside, the rest of the human fleet hovered, ready for any danger. Sensors continued scanning for threats, but so far, nothing moved except the survivors and the shuttle. Captain Jason Miller watched every movement on the main monitor, a silent tension in his chest. The first survivors reached the shuttle. Kevin helped them inside. They were pale, weak, but alive. The humans gave them water and medical packs, checking for injuries. Even with limited supplies, the human crew worked efficiently. "This way," Kevin said, guiding another group. "We have to move quickly. The ship's power is unstable." Inside the damaged ship, a faint alarm began to sound. Small sections of the hull were failing. Kevin's hands tightened on the controls. "Almost there," he muttered. Come on, come on." One of the last survivors hesitated, looking at the broken ship. Fear was written across its face. I ca," Laura's voice came through the intercom. "You can, we are here, we will get you out, just take one step at a time." Slowly, the survivor floated toward the shuttle. Kevin reached out with a magnetic tether and guided them inside. Finally, all of the trapped crew were aboard. Kevin exhaled. "Everyone accounted for?" he asked. Laura checked the readouts. "Yes, all alive, but we need to leave now. The ship is about to collapse." The shuttle detached from the wreck, moving back toward the main convoy. The survivors looked around, seeing the other human ships hovering in the dark. Their eyes widened in wonder. They had expected death, but instead they found rescue. Captain Jason Miller spoke over the intercom. "Good work, everyone. Bring them home. Let's get them to safety." As the shuttle moved away, the rest of the convoy prepared to escort the survivors. The dark zone was still dangerous, but with humans leading the way, The impossible seemed possible. On board the main vessel, analyst Claire Morgan studied the survivors' reactions. "They expected us to be aggressive, but we weren't," she said quietly. "We didn't fight them. We saved them, and that's why they trust us." Jason nodded. "That's humanity. We don't back down from danger. We help those in need. That's what makes us different." The survivors, now gathered in the medical bays of the larger ships, were still weak. Some could not speak, still in shock from their ordeal. Human medics worked quietly, offering water, food, and first aid. One of the aliens, a small female with blue skin, looked at Kevin. Why help us? No one else came." Kevin shrugged. "Because someone has to. That's what humans do. We don't leave people behind." The alien stared at him, eyes wide. We thought we were alone. We thought we would die here." "You're not alone anymore," Laura said gently. "We're here now. You're safe." As the convoy moved through the dark zone, the humans realized something. They had risked everything to answer a call for help, and in doing so, they had shown the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. Courage, compassion, and determination were their weapons, stronger than any shield or weapon system. Hours passed as the fleet navigated carefully out of the debris fields. The survivors began to regain strength, and some even smiled for the first time in weeks. The humans spoke quietly to them, explaining their journey, offering comfort. In the bridge of the main ship, Captain Miller watched the stars. "We've only just begun," he said. "The galaxy doesn't understand us yet, but they will." Lieutenant Carter joined him. "Do you think they'll ever forget what we did here?" Jason shook his head slowly. "They might, but they'll remember one thing: humans don't turn away. When someone calls for help, we answer. That's enough." In the medical bay, Kevin looked around at the survivors. Some of them were curious about humans, asking questions about their ships, their technology, their courage. Kevin smiled, a little tired but proud. "We're just doing what's right," he said softly. "Nothing more." Outside, the dark zone stretched endlessly. Other ships had come before and vanished. But for this small group of survivors, the darkness was no longer a prison. It had been conquered, not by weapons, but by the simple act of showing up when no one else would. The fleet moved steadily toward safer space. The distress signal had been answered, lives had been saved, and somewhere deep in the shadows of the dark zone, the story of humans' courage would begin to spread. In the quiet moments when the survivors rested, they spoke of the humans in whispers. "They came for us," one said. "They didn't have to, but they did. And they risked themselves," another added. "They are different, stronger than we imagined." The humans didn't hear them, but it didn't matter. The truth of their actions would speak louder than any words. When the fleet finally emerged from the dark zone, the stars looked brighter, safer, and full of possibility. Captain Miller allowed himself a small smile. The mission was a success, but more importantly, humanity had shown that even in the coldest, darkest places, hope could exist. And that hope came from one simple truth: humans never abandoned those who cried for help. The convoy continued through the void, carrying the survivors toward safety, toward life, and toward a galaxy that would soon realize just how far humans would go for one another. The human convoy moved steadily through space, leaving the immediate debris fields behind, but the dark zone was far from over. The region ahead was still dangerous. Radiation pockets twisted the readings on the sensors, and strange gravity waves made even the largest ships sway slightly. Every officer on the bridge knew the rules. One wrong move, one missed calculation, and the entire fleet could be lost. Captain Jason Miller watched the monitors carefully. "Keep formation tight," he ordered. "We don't know what's next. Stay alert." Lieutenant Mia Carter nodded, her eyes moving rapidly over the instrument panels. "Captain, I'm detecting energy fluctuations ahead. Unusual but not consistent with known hazards. Could be natural or," she paused, unsure, "could be something alive." Jason frowned. "Something alive? Explain." Mia swallowed and pointed at the readings. "The energy pulses are irregular, moving in patterns that suggest intelligence. Not a ship, not a storm, something else, something big. Captain Miller nodded slowly. We don't run, we adjust. Everyone be ready for anything. The fleet continued forward, passing slowly through areas where the light from distant stars bent strangely, creating illusions in the void. Crew members occasionally glanced at one another nervously, but no one spoke. Humans were trained to act even when afraid. Fear was part of the challenge, not a reason to stop. On board one of the smaller escort ships, engineer Kevin Hall monitored the systems. The shields are holding, but the power fluctuations are strange, he said quietly to communications officer Laura Kim. It's like something is testing us. Laura frowned. Or watching. Either way, we can't stop. We have survivors to protect. The rescued crew from the damaged ship had been moved to the larger vessels. They were still weak but alert enough to follow the humans' guidance. One of the aliens, a tall figure named Zevra, studied the human officers closely. You did not fight us?" Zevra asked. "You could have destroyed us, yet you helped." Kevin smiled faintly. "We don't fight when someone needs help, that's what humans do. We answer calls for help even when it's dangerous." Zevra tilted her head. "Your courage, it is strange. No one else and no other species comes here." Jason Miller spoke over the intercom. "We didn't come here because it was safe. We came because someone was alive. That is enough reason for a human." Hours passed. The convoy moved slowly but steadily. The energy pulses on the sensors grew stronger. Captain Miller ordered a small scouting team to investigate ahead. The team would move in one shuttle, carefully, and report back before the entire fleet advanced. Kevin volunteered to join the scouting shuttle. He was tired, yes, but eager to see the unknown. Laura accompanied him, both nervous and excited. Their shuttle detached from the main ship, moving toward the source of the pulses. The darkness around them seemed to grow thicker. Space itself felt heavier. The instruments beeped warnings, showing distortions in time and gravity. Kevin gripped the controls tightly. "This doesn't feel right," he muttered. Laura studied the monitors. "We can handle it. Just follow the readings and trust the humans guiding the fleet." They moved closer and saw shapes in the darkness, large, shadowy figures drifting slowly, almost like clouds of living metal. The shapes moved with purpose, avoiding debris but shifting in ways that seemed intelligent. Kevin's pulse quickened. "Are those alive?" Laura nodded. "They have to be. No natural formation would move like that. They're aware of us." The shuttle hovered carefully, avoiding the larger shapes. Kevin adjusted the lights to illuminate the nearest figure. It was massive, larger than any ship in the fleet. Its surface glimmered slightly, reflecting the faint light from distant stars. It didn't attack, but the presence of something alive so large was intimidating. Laura spoke quietly over the intercom to the fleet. "Captain, we found something. It's huge, alive, intelligent." Jason Miller responded calmly. "Good work. Observe, don't engage, keep distance, report everything." The shadows moved slowly around the shuttle. Kevin could feel the weight of their presence. "It's like they're testing us," he whispered, "watching what we do." Laura studied the readings. "Yes, they're not attacking. They're curious. Maybe they've never seen humans before." The shuttle continued moving carefully through the area. The energy readings showed patterns that were almost like communication, pulses and rhythms. Kevin and Laura tried to mimic the patterns with their own signals, sending simple bursts of light and sound. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one of the larger shadow forms moved closer, stopping near the shuttle. Its surface shimmered more brightly, and Kevin could see what looked like movement beneath the surface. The alien survivors on the shuttle gasped. They had never seen anything like this. Zevra spoke quietly. They are like guardians, or spirits of this place. They are testing you, they are asking why you came." Kevin swallowed hard. "We came to help, that's all. We answer cries for help. We don't leave anyone behind." The largest shape shifted slightly, almost acknowledging the words. It hovered, then moved aside, allowing the shuttle to pass. Kevin exhaled in relief. "They're letting us through," Laura smiled. "Humans never back down. Maybe that's what they're recognizing." The shuttle returned to the main fleet, reporting everything. Captain Miller listened carefully. "Keep moving. Protect the survivors. The shadows won't attack if we don't threaten them. Respect the unknown and we survive." As the fleet continued, they encountered more strange formations. Some were natural hazards, gravity wells, energy storms, radiation bursts. Others were living shadows, massive and intelligent. The humans adapted in real time, adjusting shields, changing routes, and finding paths no one else would dare. Kevin marveled at how humans could respond to the unknown. Every crew member acted quickly, yet with precision. Mistakes were rare. Humans had a way of surviving, even when everything seemed impossible. Meanwhile, the rescued crew watched in awe. They had been stranded for weeks in a region that everyone else feared. Yet humans moved through it without fear. They solved problems in moments that would have taken others days. They were different, stronger in ways that were not obvious. One of the alien survivors, a small female named Tira, whispered to Zevra, They are not just brave, they are clever. They survive when nothing else would." Zevra nodded. "Yes, I understand now. These humans, they are something new, something we have never seen." Hours turned into a full cycle of the fleet's journey through the dark zone. Every step was dangerous, but the humans pressed forward, guided by determination, not fear. Captain Miller watched the monitors, noting every hazard, every energy pulse, every shadow that moved in the darkness. "This is the test," he said quietly. "The dark zone is not just physical danger, it's trying to see if we are worthy. And we are," Lieutenant Carter smiled. "Humans always are, Captain, always." At the rear of the fleet, Kevin checked the shuttle's systems. "We're holding up. The shields are strained, but everything is stable." Laura nodded. "Good, let's keep it that way, no mistakes now. We've come too far." The fleet continued, and the energy readings ahead grew stronger. It was clear they were approaching something significant, something more than just hazards. The shadows moved in complex patterns, almost like they were guiding the humans toward a goal. Jason Miller understood. "This is it. The test is almost over. Stay alert, stay ready, and remember, humans answer calls for help. That's our strength. That's why we survive where others fail." As the fleet moved closer to the source of the energy pulses, the survivors began to show signs of hope. They had been rescued once, and now it seemed they would make it through the dangers of the dark zone. The humans' courage, their determination, and their clever thinking had carried them this far. Kevin looked out the viewport, watching the massive shadows move around the fleet. They were alive, intelligent, and mysterious, but the humans did not falter. "We can do this," he whispered to Laura. "We have to, we're humans, that's what we do." Laura smiled. "Yes, and we're not alone, the fleet is with us. Everyone is working together, that's why we survive." The journey through the dark zone continued, dangerous but steady. The humans moved with confidence, showing the galaxy that even in the harshest, most forbidden regions they could survive. They adapted, learned, and persevered. Nothing could stop them when determination guided their actions. For the alien survivors, it was more than rescue. It was a revelation. Humans were not just fragile beings in space. They were strong, clever, and brave. They could face dangers no one else would, and they did it without hesitation. The shadows, the strange energy pulses, the unknown hazards, they all seemed to recognize it. The humans' courage was undeniable. Their presence changed the dark zone. It became less threatening, less impossible. And in that vast emptiness, Captain Jason Miller and his crew continued their journey, ready for whatever came next. The dark zone had tested them, but they were still moving forward. They were humans, and they did not stop when help was needed. The fleet advanced slowly, each ship watching and adapting. The shadows moved aside, observing but not attacking. Humans had proven themselves. They had survived where others had failed. Somewhere ahead, the source of the energy pulses waited. Whatever it would soon meet the humans. And when that moment came, the galaxy would see once again why humans were not to be underestimated. The human convoy advanced steadily, guided by the faint energy pulses that had led them through the dark zone. Each ship moved carefully, keeping formation, while the rescued survivors watched in awe. They had never seen humans act like this, fearless, steady, and in control even when the universe itself seemed to resist them. Captain Jason Miller stood on the bridge, his eyes scanning the monitors. "Stay sharp," he said calmly. "We don't know what's ahead. Keep sensors active, keep shields up. Everyone be ready for anything." Lieutenant Mia Carter studied the readings. "Captain, the energy pulses are stronger now. They're not random. Whatever this is, it's waiting for us. It knows we're coming." Jason nodded. "Then we meet it, carefully, but we don't back down." On one of the smaller escort ships, engineer Kevin Hall monitored the systems. "The shields are holding," he reported to communications officer Laura Kim. "But the readings are strange. This thing, whatever it is, it's huge, and it's aware of us." Laura's voice was steady. "We just have to stay calm. Humans always find a way." The rescued survivors whispered among themselves, watching the fleet move through the darkness. They had been trapped for weeks in the hostile environment of the dark zone. They had expected death, not rescue. Now, with humans leading them, they were beginning to feel hope. Zevra, one of the tall survivors, floated near the viewport of the shuttle. They are fearless," she said softly to Tira, a smaller companion. "No other species would come here. They face the unknown without hesitation." Tira nodded slowly. "It is not only courage. They are clever, they adapt, they survive when others would fail." Kevin and Laura piloted the shuttle ahead, moving toward the source of the energy pulses. The darkness around them seemed thicker than ever. Stars looked distorted, twisted by strange gravitational waves. The instruments beeped constantly, warning of unknown forces. Kevin's hands were steady on the controls. "It's okay, we've made it this far, we can do this." Laura studied the readings. "Yes, just focus on the path, don't panic. The humans have done it before, and we will too." Ahead, the shapes they had seen before, the massive shadow forms, moved aside. A faint glow appeared in the distance, illuminating the edge of a vast structure. It looked like a fortress built from black metal and energy, floating silently in the void. "Is that the source?" Laura whispered. Kevin nodded slowly. "It must be. That's where the pulses are coming from." The shuttle moved closer, careful not to provoke any reaction. The structure was enormous, far larger than any ship the humans had seen. Energy pulsed along its surface, in patterns that seemed alive, almost like it had a mind of its own. Jason Miller spoke over the intercom. "Keep your distance, scouting team. Observe. Report everything. Do not engage unless necessary." Kevin guided the shuttle along the perimeter. He could feel the presence of the structure, a silent awareness that seemed to watch their every move. The alien survivors gasped. They had never experienced anything like this. Zevra whispered, "It is alive. Not like we are, but it knows, it feels." The humans observed carefully, recording everything. Patterns of energy pulses, movements of the massive structure, changes in gravity, all were noted. Kevin and Laura sent the data back to the main fleet. Captain Miller studied it carefully. "It's intelligent," Jason said quietly. "It is testing us. We've been observed the entire way. Every action we took, every decision it saw." Lieutenant Carter nodded. "Yes, Captain, it allowed us through because we didn't act aggressively. It recognizes that we came to help, not to fight." The shuttle moved slowly along the structure, and suddenly an opening appeared. A section of the energy surface shifted aside, creating a corridor. Kevin froze for a moment, then guided the shuttle inside. The interior was vast, dark, and glowing faintly with energy patterns. The walls seemed to pulse with life. The humans inside felt the presence of something powerful. It was aware of them, but it did not attack. It was curious. Laura spoke softly. It's studying us. Trying to understand why we came. Kevin nodded. We'll show it. Humans always answer the call for help. Ahead, they saw the source of the distress signals. It was another ship, badly damaged, trapped in a tangle of energy fields. The survivors inside looked exhausted, almost lifeless. Kevin and Laura moved closer, careful to avoid triggering the strange energy patterns. Almost there, Kevin whispered. Just a little closer. The shuttle reached the trapped vessel. The humans began the rescue operation, guiding the survivors into their shuttle. The energy fields around the ship pulsed but did not attack. It was as if the massive structure outside allowed them to act. One of the survivors, a small alien named Nira, floated toward Kevin. Why help us?" she asked, voice trembling. Kevin smiled faintly. Because someone needed help, that's what humans do. We don't leave anyone behind. The survivors were carefully moved into the shuttle. Kevin and Laura checked their health, gave them water and food, and reassured them. You're safe now. We've got you. As they prepared to leave, the energy fields around the trapped ship shifted, creating a path for them. Kevin piloted the shuttle carefully, following the corridor. The massive structure outside pulsed with light, observing their every move. Back in the main fleet, Captain Miller watched the shuttle's progress on the monitors. They're doing well, he said quietly. The test is almost over. Humanity's courage and compassion are enough. Lieutenant Carter nodded. They've proven themselves. They've answered the call, even in the darkest place in the galaxy. The shuttle moved out of the energy corridor, carrying the rescued crew safely back to the fleet. Kevin exhaled, feeling relief. We did it, he said. Everyone's safe. Laura smiled. Yes, but this is just part of the journey. There's more ahead. The rescued survivors looked at the humans with awe. They had never seen courage like this, never seen beings face the unknown without hesitation. Humans were different, stronger than anyone could imagine. Zevra whispered, they are more than we thought. Their strength is not just physical. It is their courage, their determination, their willingness to act when others would not. Tira nodded slowly. Yes, they survive where others fail. They answer calls for help when no one else dares. That is power. Captain Miller ordered the fleet to move slowly out of the dark zone. The massive structure and the energy fields remained behind, silent observers of the humans' actions. It had tested them, and they had passed. The humans' courage and compassion had been recognized. Kevin looked out the viewport at the shadows and the glowing structure. They watched everything we did, he said quietly, and we showed them who humans are. Laura nodded. Yes, we don't give up. We face danger to help others. That's why we survived. The fleet moved steadily through the darkness, leaving the dark zone behind. The rescued survivors began to recover, eating, drinking, and regaining their strength. They spoke quietly among themselves, marveling at the humans who had saved them. One of the survivors, a tall alien named Rin, said softly, They did not fight us. They risked everything to save us. No other species would do this. Kevin smiled. Humans are like that. We answer the call. We don't leave anyone behind. As the fleet emerged into safer space, the stars looked brighter, calmer. The dark zone was behind them, and the humans had proven that they could survive where others could not. They had faced the unknown, adapted, and succeeded. Captain Miller allowed himself a small smile. We've done what no one else dared. Humanity's courage has been shown. The galaxy will take notice. Lieutenant Carter nodded. Yes, Captain, and the survivors will remember this. They will tell others about humans who do not abandon those in need. Kevin looked at the recovered crew. We've shown them hope. That's more powerful than any weapon, Laura smiled. And we've shown the galaxy what humans are capable of. Courage, determination, and compassion. That's who we are. The fleet continued its journey toward safe space, carrying the rescued crew, their hearts filled with relief and pride. Humans had faced the impossible, answered the call for help, and survived the darkest place in the galaxy. And somewhere in the shadows of the dark zone, the massive structure and its watchers pulsed faintly, recording, observing, understanding. Humans had proven themselves. They had faced the test and passed. The survivors whispered among themselves, "We are alive because of humans. They risked everything for us." "Yes," Zevra replied. "They are unlike any other beings, stronger than we imagined, braver than we expected. They survive when nothing else can." Kevin and Laura exchanged a quiet glance. They had done their duty, but they felt something more. Humans were not just survivors. They were a force the galaxy would never forget. The convoy moved steadily onward, the dark zone behind them. The unknown had been faced, danger had been conquered, and humanity's strength had been proven once again. The galaxy would remember this day. The human fleet moved steadily away from the dark zone. The shadows and the strange energy structures were behind them, silent witnesses to humanity's courage. The rescued crew, still weak but alive, looked at the humans with awe. They had seen fear, uncertainty, and danger, yet the humans had pressed forward without hesitation. Captain Jason Miller stood on the bridge of the main ship, watching the monitors. "We've done it," he said quietly. "Everyone is safe. The mission succeeded." Lieutenant Mia Carter nodded. "Yes, Captain. And the survivors, they are already beginning to understand who we are." Kevin Hall and Laura Kim piloted their shuttle nearby, carrying some of the rescued crew. The survivors were quiet, still recovering from the long ordeal, but their eyes were bright. They had been given hope, and hope was powerful. One of the alien survivors, a small creature named Nira, looked at Kevin. You did not have to risk yourselves for us, but you did." "Why?" Kevin smiled softly. "Because it was the right thing to do, because someone needed help. That's what humans do. We don't leave people behind." Nira's eyes widened. "No one else, no other species would do this. You are different." Laura added gently, "We face danger because life is more important than fear. That's what makes us strong. That's what makes us human." As the fleet moved into safer space, communication channels opened. Messages from distant stations, ships, and colonies began arriving. They had been monitoring the dark zone from a distance. Most had assumed anyone entering it would be lost. Now, reports showed the humans had successfully rescued the survivors. Captain Miller listened quietly as messages poured in. Some were shocked, others skeptical, but many expressed respect. Humans had done what no one else dared to attempt. The story of their courage was spreading faster than anyone expected. Lieutenant Carter turned to the captain. "The galaxy is watching us now, sir. Everyone is learning about what we've done." Jason Miller nodded. "Good, let them watch. Let them see what humans are capable of." Meanwhile, the rescued crew slowly began to regain strength. Some of them moved among the human ships, learning about the technology, the protocols, and the care humans provided. They had expected harsh treatment, but instead, they found efficiency, understanding, and patience. Zevra, the tall alien survivor, spoke quietly to Tira. They are unlike any species we have ever known. Not only do they survive, but they care. They act when others would wait. They face death without hesitation." Tira nodded. "Yes, they are clever, brave, and strong in ways we did not expect. They saved us. They prove that courage and determination matter more than fear." In the bridge of the main ship, Captain Miller reflected on the journey. The dark zone had been dangerous, but humans had adapted and overcome. The fleet had moved through impossible conditions, faced intelligent shadows, and rescued those in need. All without hesitation, all without turning back. "Captain," Lieutenant Carter said, breaking his thoughts, "the survivors are asking if they can help repair our ships." "They want to contribute," Jason smiled. "Let them. Humans survive not only by their courage but by teaching others to survive as well. Cooperation is our strength." Kevin Hall guided the last group of survivors into a shuttle, showing them the controls and explaining how the ships worked. Laura Kim assisted, answering questions patiently. The survivors were amazed at the simplicity and effectiveness of human systems. Even after weeks of fear and isolation, they found humans organized, ready, and determined. One of the survivors, Rin, a tall alien with patterned skin, looked at Kevin. "Your people, they are remarkable. We thought we would die, but you risked everything." "How can you be so fearless?" Kevin laughed softly. "We're not fearless, we're human. We feel fear like anyone else, but fear doesn't stop us. We act anyway, that's how we survive." Laura nodded. "And when we act together with courage and determination, nothing can stop us." The fleet moved steadily toward the nearest safe zone. As they approached, transmissions began to arrive from nearby colonies and star systems. News of the rescue was spreading quickly. Some were amazed, others skeptical, but all were watching. Humanity had done the impossible. Captain Miller addressed the fleet over the intercom. "Everyone, listen. We have succeeded not only in saving lives but in showing the galaxy who we are. Humans answer the call for help no matter the danger. That is our strength. That is what makes us survivors." Lieutenant Carter added, "And it's not just courage. It's determination, skill, and compassion. Every officer, every crew member has proven that humans do not abandon those in need." The survivors, still recovering, began to speak among themselves. Zevra said quietly, "They are not just strong. They are clever, courageous, and selfless. They face what others avoid. That is why they succeed." Tira nodded. "Yes, they are something the galaxy has never seen before, and we have witnessed it." As the fleet moved closer to safe space, the human ships began to repair themselves. Engineers and medics worked tirelessly to restore the systems and care for the survivors. The rescued crew helped wherever they could, learning from the humans' efficiency and organization. Kevin Hall and Laura Kim walked among the survivors, showing them equipment and explaining procedures. The aliens listened carefully, absorbing every detail. They had survived the dark zone, and now they were learning how humans survived, adapted, and thrived. Zevra approached Captain Miller. "You risked everything for us." "Why?" Jason looked at her calmly. "Because life matters, because someone needed help, because humans answer calls for help even when no one else will. That is who we are." Zevra looked at him in awe. "No one else and no other species would do this. You are remarkable." Jason smiled. "We are human, that is enough." As the fleet approached the edge of safe space, transmissions from the wider galaxy began to pour in. Other species were reacting. Some were respectful, some fearful, but all were watching. Humans had faced the impossible, answered a distress call in a forbidden zone, and emerged victorious. Captain Miller addressed the fleet one last time. "Remember this moment. Humanity has shown its strength, courage, and determination. We survive where others fail. We act when others hesitate. And we answer calls for help when no one else dares. That is our message to the galaxy." The rescued crew whispered among themselves, sharing stories of what they had seen. Nira said quietly, "We are alive because of humans. They risked everything for us." Zevra nodded. "And they did it without hesitation. That is courage beyond what we imagined." The fleet continued into safe space. The dark zone was behind them, conquered not by weapons, but by courage, determination, and compassion. Humanity had shown what it meant to face impossible odds and answer the call for help. Kevin and Laura looked out of the viewport, watching the stars. "We did it," Kevin said softly. "We survived. We saved them." Laura nodded. "Yes, and the galaxy has seen what humans can do. They will remember this day." The rescued crew smiled, their fear replaced with hope. They had seen humanity's strength firsthand. They had been saved by beings who acted with courage and compassion, facing the unknown without hesitation. Captain Miller reflected quietly. "This is just the beginning. The galaxy will know us, not just for our ships or weapons, but for our courage, our determination, and our willingness to act when others fail. Humans answer the call. That is our legacy," Lieutenant Carter added, "and it will inspire others." Survivors, other species, the entire galaxy. They will remember what we did here. The fleet moved steadily onward, carrying the survivors toward safe space, toward life, and toward a galaxy that would never forget the courage of humanity. Zevra whispered to Tira, "We have learned something today. Humans are not to be underestimated. They survive. They act. They answer calls for help when all others would turn away." Tira nodded. "Yes, and they are different from anything we have ever known. They are strong in ways we did not expect. They are brave beyond measure." Kevin looked at the stars ahead. "We faced the darkness and we survived. That is what humans do," Laura smiled. "And we have saved lives. That is why we keep moving forward." The fleet passed the last hazards of the dark zone. Safe space stretched out before them, bright and calm compared to the dangers behind. The rescued crew looked out at the stars, feeling hope for the first time in weeks. Captain Miller addressed the fleet one final time. "Today we have shown the galaxy what humanity is capable of. Courage, determination, compassion, and skill, these are our strengths. Remember this, and let it guide us in every mission to come." The humans had survived the impossible. They had answered the call when no one else would. And the galaxy, watching from afar, would never forget the day humanity proved its courage, its determination, and its unwavering commitment to life. Somewhere in the vast reaches of space, the story of this mission would spread. Others would tell it, write it, and remember it. Humans had shown that even in the darkest, most dangerous places, they would answer the call. That was the human way. That was humanity's strength. And as the fleet moved into calm, safe space, carrying the rescued crew and leaving the darkness behind, one truth remained clear. When humans answer a call for help, the galaxy takes notice. Humanity had spoken through action, not words, and the galaxy would never forget.